In honor of Highest to Lowest, it's time to talk about one of the best filmmakers of the 20th and 21st century in Spike Lee. To prepare for this video, I rewatched everything in his filmography. I want to say this will only be the narrative features that I am discussing today. Some of the documentaries, like When the Levee Broke, is an incredible piece of filmmaking. I'm just excluding it. We are only talking about narrative features today. So let's jump into this and let's talk about one of our greatest filmmakers ever. So, kicking off this list at number 10, I have Highest to Lowest. This is his most recent film, and I almost had it a little bit higher, but I decided recency bias. I wanted to sit with this movie. I've sat with a few of these movies. I've seen a few of these movies before, that I felt safer having Highest to Lowest at 10. Let me just talk about this before I do my in-depth review on this movie, which will be coming out a little bit later. I wanted to wait to review this movie until it became available on Apple, which is when all of you will really get the chance to see this movie, because I know it's not playing theatrically everywhere. So Highest to Lowest. Here is the biggest selling point of this movie. This is Spike Lee's most important actor in Denzel Washington re-teaming with Spike Lee, and it's magical. This is a modernization of a very famous Kurosawa story with the influence of today. And I think Spike Lee is very well capable of telling this story in a fun, entertaining way. That is what I really took away from Highest to Lowest. This is an incredibly, at times, tense movie. This is a very topsy-turvy movie, and yet at the entire time I was having a blast watching this movie. Incredible key performances throughout. Denzel's amazing. There's a few surprising performances that are great. A$AP Rocky is in this movie, and he honestly surprised me. The movie really works with him in the third act, and he is game for it. He is going toe-to-toe with Denzel in a very exciting way. Jeffrey Wright's in the movie. Just an incredible ensemble cast. There is exuberant direction from Spike Lee, who's in his late 60s. The fact that he is able to kind of reinvent himself as a filmmaker, to have something so highly tense, to have something so busy on the screen, and to have it all feel coherent. It's one of the most impressive things. There's this subway sequence in Highest to Lowest that I was honestly flabbergasted by. It's one of the best 10-minute stretches of a movie I've seen in a hot second. This is just a slick crime story full of energy. Highly recommend checking this out when it hits Apple. And if you have the chance to go see it in theaters, go see it in theaters. This is a huge endorsement for me. Again, we'll talk more about this in my actual discussion/review of this movie in the next few weeks. Coming in at number 9, this is also a recent Spike Lee entry. This is his first entry in the 2020s. It is The Five Bloods, which premiered on Netflix in 2020. This movie blew me away when it came out. I am so impressed with everything that Spike Lee achieves in this movie. The tonality of which this movie is playing with, the different genres that it is. For a little bit, it's an adventure film, then it's an action film, then it's a war movie, then it is a exploration of the self, it is an exploration of trauma, it is a character study, it is a comedy at times, it is a reunion film. Everything that is being done, it should be overwhelming, and at times it is, and it is a very messy film from Spike Lee. It is at times just a very physically exhausting film, but it keeps the energy, it keeps the passion all the way through, and that's largely due to what I think is one of the best performances Spike Lee has ever gotten out of his actors. It is Delroy Lindo as the key performance in this movie. This is an incredible Delroy Lindo performance. This very complicated figure who's going through trauma, the relationship between the oppressed and the oppressors. Representation is a huge idea of this movie. Disenfranchisement. Spike Lee is not afraid to engage with the contemporary, and this movie is dealing with MAGA politics. It is what I find so impressive about this story that Spike Lee weaves is it is part empathy and it's part anguish, and they are equal parts, and they all get their comeuppance in this movie in a way that I just found exhilarating. I think it's one of the best films of the 2020s thus far. Coming in at number 8, and I rewatched this film. It had been a number of years since I've seen it. It is 2002's 25th Hour, which, oh my gosh, this is a daunting film. This is a New York drama set mere months after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, following a man on his last day of freedom before his 7-year sentence. That man played by Edward Norton. Supporting cast of Philip Seymour Hoffman, Rosario Dawson's in this movie. This is a movie exploring pain, regret, healing, fear, frustration, insecurity. It is all in this movie, and it is one of Spike Lee's most contained movies, as we're focusing on this one singular man in his last 24 hours, as freedom is quite literally escaping him. One, it's just an incredible Edward Norton performance in a guy who has given so many great performances. This is what it's one of his best. What it means to be a New Yorker is also just a key concept of this movie. There is so much importance of this movie being set a year after 9/11, mere months after that. To see the energy and shift in tone of this city. Spike Lee understands New York City better than any living filmmaker. And it's just such an interesting character study from him, what it means to accept. That is a huge recurring theme with Spike Lee's movies, acceptance. And when one can find acceptance, they can start finding something resembling freedom. Number 7, and I saw this movie today, and I cannot believe we didn't talk enough about this movie. I can't believe it took me this long to see this movie. People were underselling this movie. It is 2015 Chi-Raq. This is a modern day retelling of the play Lysistra, set against the backdrop of gang violence in South Chicago. This is the best way to describe it, as I have written down here, is a hip-hop musical tragedy with the iambic delivery almost like slam poetry. It is one of his most ambitious projects. It's so politically charged. They keep that beat and rhythm the entire movie. It never lets up. It is a movie about the fragility of masculinity, what that means within the Black community, disenfranchisement, why gang violence exists, gun violence in America, the powers that be. All of it is in this movie in a way that is so busy, yet it is completely cohesive. I was astonished by the incredible performances in this movie and everything Spike Lee achieves in it. It is just such a carefully studied movie. It is well realized. One of the things that so impressed me with this movie is its, again, empathy and these characters having to grow. One of the best performances in a Spike Lee movie that I cannot believe that I'm saying, Nick Cannon is in this movie. I didn't know he was anything of a real actor. He is flat out incredible in Chi-Raq. The finale works because of Nick Cannon, but there's so many great performances. John Cusack, Dave Chappelle just comes in for a 2 to 3 minute monologue that's just great. Angela Bassett, Teyonah Parris, Jennifer Hudson, Samuel L. Jackson as the narrator. It's a bunch of people who have worked in the orbit of Spike Lee and then a few newcomers all coming together. What I find so heavy about this movie and what works about it is, again, Spike Lee's talking about the contemporary, talking about the problems of 2015, setting it really in the world of 2015, about this story of women who decide to take matters into their own hands to try to deal with gun violence, basically go on a sex strike. It is so funny. It is so charming. It is so depressing. It breaks your heart. It is just an incredible piece of filmmaking. It is so ambitious. It is a surreal project that I've never seen anything like it in Spike Lee's filmography. This is definitely one of his most underrated movies by far. Coming in at number 6, this was a personal favorite of mine. It is 1994's Crooklyn. This is a movie that is directed by Spike Lee and written alongside with 2 of his sisters. It is told in vignette style. The framework of the movie largely focuses on the daughter character of this family living in Brooklyn over this one summer in the 1970s, and this daughter travels to the South at one point during this summer. It is one of his most lived-in stories. I can't believe what he is able to do with it. Every aspect feels recreated. It is almost like it's straight from his memory, from his understanding. It is a movie that explores life and death. It is a coming-of-age story. It's how life changes when death occurs in our lives, how the family unit shifts during that. Alfre Woodard is in this movie, just an incredible performance from her. Delroy Lindo just is also just fantastic in this movie. It is also a beautiful reflection that is silent but very important to this movie. It is the same neighborhood, essentially, that Do the Right Thing is set in 1989. This film is set in the early 1970s, so in that 12 to 15 year, you see how this neighborhood has changed, how it's become a little bit more unsafe, how policing has affected this community. Again, that's not at the forefront, but it is subtext within this movie. It's such a beautifully devastating movie from Spike Lee that is full of charm. Coming in at number 5, and this was also a movie that was a first-time watch for me this time around, it is 1995's Clockers. This story follows a clocker who is a drug dealer named Rodney Little in Brooklyn. He was suspected of murder. And it is a movie about the war on drugs. It is a movie about policing, the corruption, the consumption culture within policing, within this community. And it is a movie about community. That is the key thing about Clockers. It is how far will a community go to protect one another? How far will a family go in particular to save and protect one another? And how this affects everyone within the community. How one incident and one tragedy like this just shifts everything in it. It is a movie about the normalization of death and violence. It is a heavy movie. It is one of his most somber movies. And it is a movie that one of the most impressive things watching it this time around is the relationship this movie has to death and to childlike innocence. We see kids laughing as drug dealing is going on right around the corner, and death is all encompassing in this movie. Harvey Keitel gives one of the great performances in this movie as a cop who has his little bit of bitterness. He might seem to be like a better cop than some of the other ones, but he obviously has his own issues going on. Delroy Lindo as the villain of this movie is just flat out incredible. If you haven't seen it, Clockers, this is a huge recommendation from me. Coming in at number 4, this is just one of the greatest watches you'll have in it. This is his most crowd-pleasing movie. It is Inside Man 2006. There is a deeper subtext to this movie where you can see this movie being a reflection of a post 9/11 world. That is definitely in this movie. You can see this movie as an early onslaught of Occupy Wall Street. That is in this movie, this relationship with capitalism. I think there's a lot of themes that are shared in A Highest to Lowest that are within this movie for sure. They are all subtext in this movie and I think make this movie great, but you can also just enjoy this movie as a great bank heist robbery film. This is peak Denzel Washington charisma. I don't know if he's ever been this charismatic in a movie before. It is the definition of a crime movie that is overqualified in every aspect. Put this in any other director's hands, cast any other actors in this movie, and it's just a pretty entertaining cable watch. Having this in here, having Denzel Washington, Spike Lee, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Willem Dafoe, Jodie Foster, Clive Owen, Christopher Plummer, like they're all in this movie, ready to play in this world. This is some of the most exhilarating action you will ever see in a Spike Lee movie. This is just such an easy, fun watch. You're in for every twist and turn of this movie, and it leaves you so satisfied. It's a great ending yet again from Spike Lee. Speaking of great endings, number 3 represents that completely. This is a very important movie for me. It's maybe not my first Spike Lee movie per se, but this is probably the one that I watched and have engaged with the most throughout the years. I saw it in 2018. I was flabbergasted by it. The anger of this movie, connecting the connective tissues of histories from the 1970s to the now. This is the film that won Spike Lee his first Oscar in adapted screenplay, one that is so over-deserved, and we'll talk about in number 2 and number 1. But this film is BlacKkKlansman. This movie gets better with every passing year. This is probably the Spike Lee movie that I've rewatched the most, and I have wanting to engage with. One of the things that I love about Spike Lee that he is unafraid to is his engagement with the contemporary. And in this movie, it's with MAGA and it's with Donald Trump. This movie is about the relationship between white supremacy, the Klan, the government, policing, how it's all intertwined in this one cop's journey to basically infiltrate the Klan as a black man. That also adds a level of difficulty for this man who is well aware of the issues within policing. It's a very open-ended film where it leaves you struggling with some of these questions yourself, as it leaves the detective character not knowing all the answers to what it means to be a cop as a black man, whether that's bad for the community, whether he is enabling a system that is there to hurt black people. It's all there in this movie, and all we know is that it's a continuation. one group of racists can get arrested for trying to kill black people, and yet the KKK continues in different forms, in different iterations, and different leaders, and most importantly, different dog whisperers in this movie. It is history on display. It is history that is reactionary. It is also about the history of film. This movie directly deals with Birth of a Nation, which is one of the first Hollywood blockbusters released in the 1915s. And it's just an incredible exploration of the institutionalized racism within media. It is all within this film, and it's also just incredibly funny at times. It's incredibly poignant. It's so tense, and the ending destroys you. I love BlacKkKlansman, and the thing that I love most about Spike Lee that is on display in this movie is he never minces word. It is 1 + 1 = 2. And there is no other discussion about it. 1 + 1 does not equal 3. F you if you say it equals 4. 1 + 1 = 2. Here's the correlation. Here's how it works. Deal with it. Talk about it now. That's where my film ends you on. It's the genius of BlacKkKlansman. Coming in at number 2, and I'll be honest, my number 2 and my number 1 switched multiple times. I ended up going with my number 2, Malcolm X, which I own the Criterion Collection version of this movie on 4K. An incredible way to experience this movie. It tells, of course, the story of the civil rights leader, Malcolm X, basically his reclamation within civil rights. And it's the canonization, I think, in the larger media landscape. The story of a man from street hustler to revolutionary leader and everything in between. It is just such an epic film from Spike Lee. The humanity, the faith, the empowerment that we see through Malcolm X in this character. The movie reckons with Malcolm X's legacy, what it means, the end of radicalism that they're presenting it in the media at the time versus him actually becoming something of a martyr by the end. It is Denzel's best performance of his career. No stop. This is just an incredible Denzel performance. It's a travesty that he doesn't win Best Actor this year at the Oscars. It is just everything that you want. It is one of the best biographies ever done on a character, and it is just so infused with Spike Lee's style. It is one of our best films ever made and one of the best films of the 1990s. Which brings us to number 1. I have, of course, the first Spike Lee movie I ever saw. It is 2013's Old Boy. I'm joking. Of course, that's not number 1. It's Do the Right Thing. We all knew this was going to be very high on this list. And what else is there to say about Do the Right Thing? I will share a personal experience I had with this movie. I saw this movie for the first time in 2020. And I watched this movie and I struggled through it. I didn't fully understand it. I came away asking the question, who does the right thing? Does Mookie do the right thing at the end? I watched this coincidentally, and literally 5 minutes later, I check my phone and I see the video of George Floyd everywhere. I watched it the same day that the George Floyd murder happened and went huge everywhere online. It completely changed my perspective on what this movie was. It completely shifted everything that I understood it to be. The ending of this movie is devastating. It's one of the most shocking, most upsetting endings to a film I have ever seen. The thing that I think about while watching Do the Right Thing, and I've now rewatched it a few times, is how it was all bound to happen. You have this community at a boiling point, and something like this is going to happen due to the conditions. It is something that is cyclical. It almost feels like it can never be broken. That's the point of the movie. And it is the end is Mookie just having to, at some way, have either control or express himself or just get it out. And that's the power of this movie. It doesn't leave you with resolution anywhere, because there can be no resolution when what happens to these characters and this community happens to this community. It is one of the most devastating endings to a film. It is a movie that is very much about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. That is like the key to understanding this movie. It is such a beautifully well done movie that is one of the best films of the 1980s. It is obviously Spike Lee's crowning achievement. This is just a 5-star masterpiece in every sense of the word. So those are the top 10 best Spike Lee movies. So thank you for everyone who's been watching this video, and make sure you subscribe for more.